And we're ready whenever you are, Mayor.
Okay. Good evening and thank you for attending tonight's City Council meeting. For those who are attending remotely, the camera in the council chambers is set up to show those attending in person tonight. The platform we are using has a raise hand feature. You will notice a picture of a hand in the upper right-hand corner. When we reach the point in the meeting where the public has the opportunity to address council, you can click that button and be given your opportunity to address council. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Skelly,
Here.
Counselor Dilaba,
Here.
Counselor Fisher,
Here.
Counselor Kennedy. Here. Counselor Powers,
Here.
Counselor Reish.
Here.
Counselor Scamperly.
Here.
Quorum present.
We have two public hearings tonight. The first is regarding the draft community development plan. It is going to be bill number 26, and I will open that public hearing now. If anyone attending in person would like to speak regarding the public hearing, please come down to the podium and you will have 5 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Fred Hans. I'm the Vice President of the Fort Worth Presentation Association. The association applauds the city's efforts to prepare a strategic plan to guide its economic and community revitalization efforts. The association appreciates the city recognizing the importance of reconstructing an accurate replica of Fort de la Presentation to the community's economic recovery and looks forward to partnering with the city to that end. In its draft plan, the city has proposed to make land owned by the association located on the west side of Albany Avenue available for commercial redevelopment. While the association generally supports the redevelopment of vacant land for new uses, this site is not suitable for redevelopment. Moreover, it's not for sale. Notwithstanding the legal complications for a not-for-profit organization to sell real property, the property was the site of petroleum storage tanks from the 1920s through the 1980s. Environmental conditions on the site severely limits its potential for redevelopment. The association accepted the donation of two non-contiguous parcels on Albany Avenue from ExxonMobil in 2015. The deed that the association received noted that the property was included in a petroleum spill identified by the DEC as spill number 010-13685. ExxonMobil and New York State have entered into a settlement agreement for the spill. As a result of petroleum contamination, ExxonMobil inserted certain deed covenants restricting how the parcels may be used or redeveloped in the future. Prohibited uses include no use of groundwater or construction of any subsurface structures, no residential structures of any kind, no commercial or industrial uses of any kind, and no agricultural uses of any kind. The deed to the property permits the association to use the parcels for express purposes, including slab-on-grade parking, unpaved parking areas, walking trails, driveways, landscaping, and a pre-built 16-foot by 32-foot storage building that must be constructed on a slab-on-grade with a vapor barrier liner underneath the structure. Given this, the association requests that the city remove any reference to the parcels being available or suitable for redevelopment. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Yeah, next.
So could you tell me, sorry, Jen, could you tell me your name one more time, sir? I didn't get it written down in time. Thank you.
There have been many development plans for the city over the last decades. The one that I recently read that I've seen before is about 70% the same as what we've been proposing for years. What I'm missing is how are you going to do this? Because we've all tried, it's all different times, but we were told that there was a plan to do what we could not do in the past. It's been 503 days, and I don't see any action in that plan of the 70% that we covered, such as putting the waterfront up for sale, development, etc. So what I would like to see, with the limited public input that you've allowed, is what have you done to produce this? What have you done to move it forward in 503 days? Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Tooley. I live at 214 Hamilton Street here in the city. I appreciate the opportunity to share my comments about the draft community development plan with you tonight. I again thank Councilor Reese for his work in developing the proposed plan. Sure, it took a lot of work and research to complete it, and overall I support most of the goals included in this plan. I suggest before the final draft of the plan is presented to you for action that you'll ask someone to proofread it. In my reading, I came across a few grammatical errors and a couple of spelling errors, so I think someone who's reading the plan for English content rather than the informational content will pick up on these errors. And I think it will be important for City Council, either prior to acting on the plan or soon thereafter, to establish priorities for these goals and action items. Perhaps you grade each section to rank them in terms of priority. Perhaps you identify a few goals, maybe 5 or 10 as priorities. But by doing this, you give direction to the city manager so he or she can allocate time and resources based on priorities you have established. Page 5, there are comments offered about the Regional Economic Development Council. The stated goal is that the city of Ogdensburg should have representation on this council. A lofty goal, no objections pursuing a seat on this council, but I suggest including language that encourages representation by city volunteers to serve in one or more of the council's work groups that helps them identify their strategies. These work groups allow for greater involvement of regional stakeholders, and local government representatives are encouraged to participate. I suggest City Council first consider participation in REDC work groups as a starting point, and over time develop our resume that eventually could lead to a seat on the council. Page 11 states the goal of the city beach in the Greenbelt area. I suggest amending goal 1 to read, the beach and the pool will be open from July 1st through Labor Day, weather permitting. I think the idea of having a city beach open every other day is not a wise option. Potentially a beach is closed on sunny days, scheduled to be open on rainy days. The idea of having a city beach open only one day each weekend in the summer doesn't make sense to me. Page 15 references the St. Lawrence Psychiatric Center. Regarding the application to Parks, Recreation, Historic Preservation Offices for placement of the buildings on the historic places list, the comment reads in part, this agency has to date ignored this request. I suggest changing the phrase from an opinion to a fact, perhaps by stating the agency to date has not responded to this request. Page 18, again, referring to the city beach, the cost of opening a beach can be minimal. Based on the resolution adopted by council recently, with establishing a budget of up to $50,000, I don't think $50,000 is minimal. And then page 24, K through 12 education. I originally planned to recite a lot of statistics about finances at the Ogdensburg City School District to get my point across, but in the interest of time, I'll go to bullet point format. First, the school district's tax rate has been relatively flat over the last 5 years. This past year, a homeowner with a home valued at $50,000 paid $11 more in school taxes after STAR than they did 4 years ago. Through the STAR program, New York State pays approximately $2 million or 18% of the school tax levy. The percentage of the tax levy financing Ogdensburg school budget is lower than the percentage paid in Canton, Potsdam, and Messina. And then in terms of spending, the latest data from 2018-19.
The percentage, you could just go back to the percentage of what?
The percentage of the tax levy. So in other words, Ogdensburg's tax levy is $10 million on a $48 million budget. So it funds 18% of the tax levy funds the whole budget. And Messina is 20% of the tax levy, 26%, and Canton is 31%, and Potsdam is 39%.
Yeah.
So we're getting a lot more resources, primarily in the area of state aid, so that our taxpayers are paying less toward their percentage of the total budget than those other communities. All right, and then in terms of spend, the average spend per student in Ogdensburg is within $150 of the average spend for schools of similar size in New York State. This is despite the fact that the average spend in Ogdensburg to educate and provide services to students with disabilities is $33,400, almost $4,700 higher than the average spend for similar size schools in New York State. The high number of local students identified with special needs is likely a factor in student standardized test score performance, as all students take these tests. And when recommendations come from the Committee on Special Education, the board's obligated to fund those expenses. I have one paragraph,
No,
if you don't mind.
Keep going.
Thank you. So to wrap up, I question the current language in this section. I don't think it's necessary to have the question posed regarding test scores and graduation rates. And I would suggest the following might be considered a goal. The city encourages the Ogdensburg City School District to continue to provide a well-rounded educational experience to our children while maintaining a stable property tax rate that voters in the school district will continue to support. By approving the school district's budget each year, voters in the school district will allow the school to continue to make its facilities available to all in our community. So I think a goal stated with a positive attitude is better than one stated with a negative attitude. And that related to that page 29, the tax rate, item 4, again about school district taxes, I would suggest removing that goal.
Do you need more time, Mike? Do you want to go over more things? You're welcome to, Mike.
No, I basically got across what I wanted to get across. I did my editing to get down from 8 minutes to 5. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
I say I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mike.
you, Mike. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this? Do we have some people on remote?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay. I'll declare this hearing closed then. Our next public hearing is regarding an ordinance to license municipal property at the Dubisky Visitors Center to Matthew Rose. Is going to be bill number 27. I will open that to the public hearing now. If you're attending in person, just come down to the podium, 5 minutes. Anyone? If you're attending remotely, is anyone there, Kathy?
Give me 1 second, Mayor. It looks like somebody's logging in. I'm not sure if they're trying to raise their hand. No, I do not see any hands raised.
I'll declare this public hearing closed. The next public hearing is regarding an ordinance to provide for the sale of city-owned property at public auction. It is going to be bill number 29. I will open that to public hearing. Anyone attending like to speak? Is there anyone remotely attending?
I do not see any hands raised.
I'll declare this public hearing closed. And this brings us to items for council action. Our first item of business will be read by Director of Planning and Development, Andrea Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a lease agreement to operate the Dubisky Visitor Center concession to Matthew Rose. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Ogdensburg, New York as follows. Item 1, an ordinance to authorize a license of municipal property at the Dubisky Visitor Center to Matthew Rose. Item 2, the city manager has presented the attached proposed agreement to license space at the Dubisky Visitor Center. Item 3, the city manager is hereby authorized to execute the attached license agreement hereby made part of this ordinance. Item 4, passage of this ordinance shall be by vote of 3/4 majority of the members of city council. Item 5, this ordinance shall take effect immediately.
I'll move that.
I'll second that. Discussion?
So the term and the rate needs to be quantified before we adopt it.
Sure. So council, what I'm proposing for this lease for this first term for this year is $250, including a security deposit. This was the only proposal that we had. So we'd like to see this individual get off to a good start with the season. He's got quite a bit of work to do to get up and running to take advantage of the summer. So certainly our goal here is to help a business succeed in this space. So excuse me, this lease term will be through the end of the year, and then we will give him first right of refusal for the next coming year. He has every intent of trying to stay open during the off-season months. We originally were targeting this for the good weather months, but he'd like to try to run it through the entire year. So we want to be able to support that. I would like to get through this first 6 months. That way he can see what's real. I didn't want to do the lease any longer because he may get through the summer season and realize the winter months are not what he thought. So I think this will give us a good start. I think he's got good credentials, good business idea, and the city staff is fully supporting him getting up and running. So
I'm very happy for this. I think it's an opportunity for the building to be more fully used. I think it could be great for residents to be able to go down there and have a bite to eat and a drink and be right by the river, for boaters in the marina and visitors to come and enjoy the Biskie Center and with a meal. So I'm very, very happy for this. I wish him luck on it, and I know myself and my family will be going down there.
So it's our understanding then that the agreement's $250 a month from whenever he signs it, but by June 1 till the end of the year.
plus utilities.
Yeah, it'd be nice to take a look at privatizing the marina as well, maybe making that part of the lease next year if we go back out, or maybe separately, I don't know, but that's in the community development plan as well. So no, this is great. So I'm fine with it.
Anyone else?
Is there a separate entrance to the building from the outside that just accesses the particular area where he'll be using, or will he have access to the entire Biskie Center?
Excuse me. So right now, the way we envision it is he'll use the kitchen area, obviously, and his area where people will generally sit will be the outdoor
I just didn't know
area
if
there.
is there a separate entrance, or will he entrance through like one of the main Biskie Center entrances?
I think there's an exit directly in there, but he'll have access to come in through the building though.
So just through the, I'm sorry,
Go on, Mike.
just through the lease agreement under the title term, we're going to what, December 31st?
Yes, sir.
You'll be locked into that at $250 a month?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned something about a 6-month possible.
So I'm talking about this term now, June, whenever he starts up. Yeah, and he may want to get started in the month of May setting up. I mean, we're certainly going to encourage it. We'll prorate to there. So.
Now utilities, he pays utilities.
Yes, sir.
Are the utilities in his name, or are they going to be in the city's name and he'll be billed from the city?
No, I believe we can convert the meter. There's a separate meter there for it.
Do we have any obligation to assist him in any way of getting this up and running? I mean, as far as equipment or cleanliness or anything, are we involving any city staff?
We no, at this point we went in and we gave the facility a thorough cleaning. I mean, I think just sitting there, the equipment hadn't been quite cleaned the way I think it should have been. So I think we went in and did the things that just we should have done. So other than that, no, I think he will come in and identify, I believe, a couple of pieces of equipment that he doesn't need, and we'll remove those. But at this point, no. Well, one of the things we are going to do, counselors, this is good for discussion now, is I think we'd like to be leasing the space, principally just be leasing the square footage, but it is full of equipment. So the one thing we've done this year is we've gone through the equipment. We're going to make sure everything is maintained properly and taken care of, and we'll maintain the equipment for this first period. But then in our next term of lease, I think what we'll be discussing with him is the equipment will be maintained by him. Again, ideally, we'd be leasing the space and the equipment would all belong to him, but it's there. It's good equipment. It's in good shape. So I think it's another function of the awardee here getting the use of that equipment, and we'll look at that in the continued lease agreement. I think, again, what'll be fair is requiring him to maintain the equipment, and if something ultimately fails, it'll be up to the contractor to provide their own equipment. I don't think we want to be in the continued equipment, certainly not that kind of a rental rate.
In the past, one of the issues that we've had with minor issue with trash, but usually the tenant gets it out after a discussion with the city. I just want to make sure it's cleaned up.
Yep.
Kept clean, doesn't smell in the area and things like that.
No doubt, we're moving full steam ahead. Hopefully we'll have something for council soon on, partnering and getting the chamber in there operating, and we're still maintaining the marina. So I think we'll still have a lot of presence down there and in keeping the whole area maintained and cleaned up. So
Did you say what the security deposit was?
I didn't, it'll probably be a month's rent.
Okay.
He's good with signage. I mean, I think one of the only things it was a concern of mine years ago, even when we rented it out before, was the proper advertising for his establishment. He's kind of tucked away back on the backside of that building. Obviously we'll have control over any advertising out in front of the building. And I see that in here, but he's in full understanding of that, correct?
Yes, and we're going to look at, can we, is there a way to put a street sign up there on the poles that are on the street, something that directs it, down there. So
My only other concern is he applying for an alcohol license?
yes, sir. I believe he's going to apply for a beer and wine license. I don't know if he'll be successful. It's a pretty significant lean time on those, but his intent is to apply for a beer and wine license.
Thank you.
Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
Counselor Reish,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Dilaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
approved.
Our next item of business will be read by Director of Planning and Development, Andrea Smith.
An ordinance to provide for the sale of city-owned property at public auction. Be it ordained and enacted by the City Council of the City of Ogdensburg, New York as follows. Section 1, the following property shall be offered for sale at public auction by the City of Ogdensburg. Tax map number to be determined. The location is former Paper Hayward Street. The minimum sale price is $1,000, including St. Lawrence County filing fees, and the restrictions are non-conforming parcel in the single-family residential zoning district. Section 2, the city does not guarantee clear property title in the transfer of property by auction, and conveyance will be made by quitclaim deed. The City Council reserves the right to reject any and all bids or to withdraw any parcel from sale. Section 3, this ordinance shall become effective 10 days after publication.
Thank
I'll
you.
move that.
I'll second that. Discussion?
Are the county filing fees based on the purchase price?
The taxes that they assign to it are based on the purchase price, but the fees are assigned to the various forms. So there's an RP form and a TP form. And then it's higher for vacant land versus residential land.
You know what those fees are?
One of the forms alone is $250.
So that gets deducted from what they provide for the purchase price?
Correct.
Maybe that should be their responsibility when we do that in the future.
The filing fees, when we did the auction on May 4th, and we assigned a price of $500, for example, for property, those we do hold the buyer responsible for the filing fees. Those ranged as low as $187 in total to as high as $387, I think, for some of the properties we just sold. So this property, but in those instances, that's the only fee. In this instance, we do have to have a survey, so there are some other fees, but the survey was all accounted for when we initially looked at dissolving this portion of the paper street. So there was an $800 survey fee, which we recouped most of that when we ended up selling the first portion. So we've reduced the fee from what we would ordinarily sell a portion of a paper street for, because we have recouped some of those fees. So in total, I mean, the city will get approximately $500, which is about what we get for any of the properties.
And we got it, on the tax roll for future.
This is just establishing a public auction, so we haven't yet sold it.
Right. When it's-
But if it sells, yes. When it sells, we can be positive.
When it sells, thank you. Kathy, would you call the roll, please?
Counselor Reese,
Yes.
Counselor Scamperly,
Yes.
Mayor Skelly,
Yes.
Counselor Jelaba,
Yes.
Counselor Fisher,
Yes.
Counselor Kennedy,
Yes.
Counselor Powers,
Yes.
approved.
At this time, I will make a motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Or second, I'm sorry.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned.